Conflict in Ukraine, update December 2022. This is our topic for today.
Welcome to the Lawyers and Mediators International Show and podcast by instantmediations.com, where we discuss law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Catch regular episodes on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcasts. Just remember, nothing in these episodes constitutes legal advice, so be sure to talk to a lawyer as cases are fact dependent.
Hello and welcome. My name is Natalia. I am an advocate and mediator in Warsaw, Poland.
Hey everyone, this is Mac Pierre-Louis again, attorney, mediator, arbitrator, working out Florida and Texas.
As the year 2022 wraps up, we decided that we want to bring to our audience some update on the situation in Ukraine, as we believe that might be of a vital importance to us as the months of this year go by. The conflict continues, but nothing is being broadcast the way it used to be. Some of the people tend not to really think about it, whereas it is still a battlefield. It's still an important scene on things happening in Europe, influencing the European politics and financial decisions on many governments, but moreover, lives of many people.
So it's generally a good thing to have Natalia talk about this because she's in a location that's pretty close to the battle lines. And Warsaw is probably 7-8 hours away from Ukraine by car. And so I've been to Warsaw several times in the last year, and it always surprises me that this fight is so close to the city that you're living in. So this is why we're always saying stay safe. But can you catch people up, because you're correct, the news is not reflecting what's going on over there as much as it used to. In the West, in the US specifically, we've talked a lot about just war fatigue, and that at first it was on every newspaper, on every radio show, that was a topic of the day. But now you have to kind of dig for it to find out what's going on. So Natalia, kind of catch us up. What are some of the things that are still happening that you think we should know?
Thank you for that, Mark. And I think that the perspective I am going to adopt is the perspective of ordinary people, because war affects just individuals like you or me, and then it changes their lives, I dare say, forever. What is happening now, and that will be a play on words, the Cold War, we all know, is over. But now we have the war in the cold, and with the cold in Ukraine. The temperatures are getting very low, and it is a lot of snow all around, as it is really the winter now, and the temperatures can be as low as 32 degrees currently, or even low. Meanwhile, because of the war, 2 million of Ukrainians stayed in Poland and settled down here. And because of the things I am going to describe further, there might be more coming, and we are expecting them and, of course, welcoming them as it used to be in the very beginning of this entire conflict.
Yeah, continue more, because you know so much more than I do on this. What are some of the recent updates or some surprises you could share with us?
The first thing that is now established is that Russian missile attacks are actually concentrating less on individual people's homes, but more on strategic power plants that then actually destroys the lives of people because of killing the access to electricity. So strategic energetic infrastructure is being devastated by bombings, which then causes people to lose access to electricity, which then in consequence can have influence on access to fresh water and all other means. So currently, as they say, and as also the Polish correspondents being there broadcast, they say that there is not a place in Ukraine that would not be affected by shortages of electricity. And the breaks in electricity is just everyday life. It's not that it happens every now and then. It happens every single day. And you can now be saying that you are lucky when you have electricity for 3 hours a day. Uh, but now let's put it all in context. Even after the pandemics, Ukraine stayed with online learning. So if you don't have electricity, you don't have internet, you don't have schooling. Children are not being schooled because of the lack of access to distant learning due to the shortages of electricity. Then a lot of people in the Ukrainian cities live in the multi-storey block of flats. And then the elevators are not working. Many families climb as high as 15th or 20th floor on foot every day. And what is also happening is that that also limits the supplies. A lot of supermarkets closed. You can't process payment transactions with no electricity. You can't have customers go into your shops. They say that every fifth of the supermarkets is only operating. The rest of them are being closed, and yeah, this is the sad reality. But because also the supplies of food or clothing or whatever is necessary, like electric materials, are now really being cut off.
So the electricity is kind of the key, and I know you discussed some other consequences of electricity, like the courts can't run if they don't have power, how it impacts the elderly. So, what are some things that are being done to kind of combat the constant electrical um, issues?
I am pretty much in great honor and respect for Ukrainian people because they are being very creative and very helpful one to another in trying to combat this difficult situation. What happens is they, of course, try to organize power banks. They try to use other means of energy that will be accessible to them, like gas, to illuminate, to warm themselves. But whoever is having access to electric generators or whoever is having access to other means like any possibility to charge will be sharing that with their neighbors, especially with the elderly. I am not going to say that war changed the characters of people, but now this is a question of surviving. In really low temperatures, you can't operate normally when you don't have electricity, when you don't have the heating, and the continuing lack of electricity might cause the entire heating system to be closed, meaning you need to get rid of the water that is in the pipes so that they don't freeze. And then people remained without access to heat and without access to the running water as well.
How has this electricity issue, just the energy, the warfare over energy, impacted your country and some of the other surrounding neighboring countries?
Thank you for that, because, of course, knowing that the war is taking place in Ukraine, I myself tend to concentrate on the situation of people there. But the strategic attacks will also concentrate it on destroying the places where Ukraine would be exporting energy to other countries like Poland or Hungary. Ukraine now, suffering from their own shortages, stopped exporting the power they used to our land. That means that we are also facing the threat of having blackouts. It hasn't happened yet. I think it's administered the way that we're first of all gathering all the possible resources in this term, but also the first that will be affected will rather be industry than ordinary people and their homes.
Yeah, I saw a recent map. I'm not sure where I saw it. It was on Twitter, I think. You might have been the ones that sent it to me actually of I think it was a Europe in the dark or at night, and the map was um, a nighttime picture of from space, satellite image, and it shows all the cluster of light. And you have Moscow, which is really bright, lots of light. You have Warsaw. You have Paris. You have all these cities that had lots of bright light. But Ukraine was almost in complete darkness, just because of the infrastructure being bombarded from the sky. So, just to let you know, on the U.S. and the issue. I mean, I do follow up on the news. The issue has come up quite a bit. I just heard yesterday on CNN actually that the U.S. is sending Patriot missile batteries over to Ukraine to help protect, defend, their airspace, because that's really what this has boiled down to, right? It's the Russian, troops aren't doing very well, as we've all seen, and so there's not a whole lot of on the ground fighting as there used to be, but there is a lot of sky fighting. And so I think these Patriot missile batteries might, be a game changer. But we shall see. But I hate the cold, and I can only imagine, how people who might be used to it, because this is, it's a seasonal thing, and they're very used to cold temperatures. I hate to see how much people would suffer, hypothermia, frostbite, and all the things that come with a really, really wickedly cold weather. So, my heart always goes out to these folks about what they're going through. But what other solutions, Natalia, um, are being worked on? Anything about you talked about power banks earlier, right? Do you know of any other initiatives, anything that people can do to necessarily help, combat this issue of winterizing, and the cold?
To picture this situation better, I think that it is a different thing when you go out into the snow and the cold and you enjoy that during an hour-long walk, rather than staying in your own home, in your own bed with no electricity and no heating. That really is something that makes the cold impossible to stay. I know that the mayor of Kiev, Klitschko, is organizing and planning the evacuation. It is not going to be an obligatory option, but that will be an option for people, especially for the elderly, to move into places where they will have access to electricity and warmth to warm themselves up. Please remember that to many, that also means that they are not able to provide themselves with warm a meal in those very cold conditions. I think that all of us should think about it the way that we are really lucky and blessed. The holiday season is approaching, the God's celebration, the Christmas celebration is something very important, both in Poland and the Ukraine, although most of the people will be celebrating it on the 6th of January, but still, being in this family season and thinking that you can't really live normally. You will not have the means that you normally do, access to the food you would want, to cooking what is traditional, and just being in a warm place. I think that that should really inspire our imagination and our hearts. I believe that the most important initiative now is really to provide power banks. And there are a lot of places that gather both money, but also just physical objects that can be sent to Ukraine, and so that people have access to those things. If the electricity is turned on for this 3 hours a day, and it does sometimes happen, Kiev had the longest blackout on the 15th of November, 50 hours with no electricity. It is a lot. And you can be the one who will be giving this gift that it can be a life-saving gift to many during those hours where the electricity is available, to be able to charge the power bank, to charge all the devices that people have that will enable them to stay in contact with the world and to have normal, regular lives as much as it is possible. And I will place some links into the comments to this video on our YouTube channel.
Thank you for that. And lastly, Natalia, how long normally do these winters last, up in this part of the world?
This is incredible because the we need to have central heating here in Poland, which is warmer than Ukraine. We need to have it until the 15th of May. So there will be sun already, their vegetation will be going on, but there is still the risk that the temperature can drop to below zero, meaning again 20, 30 Fahrenheit. So that is a very long perspective. And I'm really worrying about all these people. But I need to say that it is some sort of a heroism. I heard rumors from the Ukrainian people that they will not be leaving Ukraine, because as long as Ukraine is there, they will be there. And as long as Russians are not there, they will be there. And by staying, they are showing their willingness to fight, their willingness to stay, and their patriotism.
Yeah, yeah. We as lawyers and mediators, both of us, deal constantly in the world of neutrality because we're constantly helping people negotiate and make peace and resolve their disputes outside of court. This is one of those topics, that the word that comes to my mind is always justice. You're right. In any country that's having their country destroyed from the air with impunity by a neighboring country, there's most nations on earth would not stand for it. And I think, I'll probably stop there with my comments, but I just think that, it makes me angry, whenever I see what's happening, because the men, women, and children of Ukraine, they don't deserve this. Nobody deserves to be suffering, when in their bed, for example, just because governments decide to do these kind of things. So, want to definitely connect back with you on this topic, just because, again, it's not something that's being discussed, that often here. But certainly we need to always try to stand on the side of the weak and the oppressed whenever possible, even though, we believe in the virtue of being a neutral. And with that, thank you so much, my business partner in crime, Natalia Laskachayka. And we will talk to you some more about it. So definitely get all the information as you can onto on the video so people can click and help however they can. All right.
Thank you.